Hello and welcome, comic book fans. In today's video, a long overdue review of Star Trek Year 5, Issue 3. I've covered the first two previously, now we're on to Issue 3. Based on, by the looks of it, some strange planets, Kirk, Spock and McCoy having beamed down, made themselves rather famous, have statues and ticker tape parades for them. So we'll see what's going on in this issue. We start off with a recap from Spock's perspective. Spock's on the bridge in command, talking about how they dropped out of warp to carry out some diagnostics on the warp nacelles. And unexpectedly, Chekhov picks up what appears to be peculiar energy readings for sure, but unstable warp signature. So someone's been out testing warp engines, warp capabilities. McCoy asks, well, where are we then, Mr. Chekhov? And Chekhov replies, we're on the Sigma Iotia system. Sigma Iotia did feature in the original television series, and we'll come to that very soon. We'll see exactly what's going on here. But you can see McCoy is already very nervous. Sigma Iotia, oh no, this is not going to go well. Kirk, meanwhile, is in his quarters having a conversation with Carol Marcus, by the looks of it, talking about their son, David. McCoy comes along, interrupts, and says, we've been to Sigma Iotia before, we think we're going back there again. Sigma Iotia, this is the planet where the inhabitants had developed independently their own slightly off-kilter version of the American Constitution. And the crew beamed down in the middle of sort of gangster era, Tommy guns, trilbies, gangsters, mobs, and all that kind of thing. And Kirk comes along and says, well, why in heavens, why would the Enterprise be heading that way again? And McCoy kind of puts his finger out, they're testing warp drive. And recap, McCoy left his communicator behind there, violating the Prime Directive. And ever since then, they were a resourceful planet, resourceful people. And sure enough, there's the remnants of a warp vessel. Hasn't quite gone according to plan. They pose zero tactical threat, according to Sulu. Their structural design is comparable to barely 21st century Earth aeronautical technology mixed with late 22nd century propulsion elements. So they're not there yet, basically, but it's a worrying development, to say the least. So, as you'd expect, they beam down. Kirk, Spock and McCoy, naturally. The fathers have returned as the welcome from the inhabitants. They're delighted to see the crew beam back down. And we get kind of a catch-up. You can see things have developed since then. The communicator from McCoy is kept on a pedestal. Lost Starfleet communicator works up to an image, and they've been to see it and admire it as kind of one of the key founding articles of the current society. It turns out that the leadership there are still very tightly based on Earth, and now specifically on the Enterprise. I am Planetary President Chris Jamek, and on behalf of the people of Sigma Iotia, I wish to welcome you to the Hall of Culture. Here he is, here's Chris Jamek. And I am Mark Encloyed. As the crew very quickly deduce, these are just anagrams of James Kirk and Leonard McCoy. So they really have replicated the culture considerably. They now work on a two main territories on the planet, the north and the south, and we'll come to that in more detail later. Meanwhile, back on engineering, Scotty and his team are doing their best to make their Tholian visitor more comfortable. So what we found is a way of making the quarters for the Tholian hot enough for him to find tolerable and comfortable. And Scotty tells Uhura to come down to see if they can't work out some way of communicating So she brings down this crystalline entity, crystalline structure, to see if that will help her bridge the communication gap with the Tholian. Meanwhile, Kirk and the crew explain to the Sigma Iotians the history of Earth, landing man on the moon, the eugenics wars, the war in Vietnam, and Captain Archer, the first of the Starfleet enterprises that went out into space. And what the Sigma Iotians have discovered is that there was one constant that stemmed the tide of atrocity: representational democracy, a system of justice, fairness, compromise and wisdom, and the perfect way of governing the masses. And they're taking that a step too far, as you would expect, and it turns out that they now have elections every 6 weeks. 6 weeks, not long enough to do anything practical, but nonetheless that's how they work it. Astro Liberation, this is the group from the south, if I recall correctly. I'm just looking ahead to make absolutely sure. Yeah, the Astro Liberators want to change things around. They've never attacked Iotia City before, but they do, and in the process kidnap Spock. If nothing else, Mr. Krakow, you've displayed an uncommon ability to tilt problematic situations into your favour. So he agrees to go. Spock agrees to go forwards as a hostage, with a knowing glance between Spock and Kirk. So that leaves McCoy and Kirk behind, and Kirk's still being quite flippant about it all. McCoy is still reeling over the loss of his communicator in the first instance. Speaking of Starfleet, what's our next move regarding Spock? We can't leave him. He can be beamed up to the Enterprise on my command, says Kirk. Spock is not in any serious danger. So what's going on? Well, briefly back on the Enterprise, they get there are crew members who realise there's a Tholian on board, want to kill it. Lieutenant Uhura, we're not initiating a mutiny, we're trying to save the ship. It just looks like a mutiny. And they're forced to stand down. The Tholian stays on board. The Astro Liberators, Spock explains to the Astro Liberators that their system may be flawed. It might be that they do the side consistently winning, but there is a way around it. And Spock, pure logic, explains it very simply: you run the right candidate. And you see where this is going. And sure enough, Spock puts himself forward for the candidate for the Astro Liberators, IDIC, Infrastructure Development, Immediate Concern. There we go. So, I really enjoyed this issue of Star Trek. Next month's issue 4, Vote for Spock, IDIC forever. The artistry, the colours and the inks throughout, just like the original comic series, just like the original TV series. A good issue, nice setup. What is going to happen? Is Spock going to win? Is McCoy going to get over his guilt? We shall see. I would rate this a very positive 7 or 8 out of 10, and strongly recommend it if you haven't already seen it. I imagine you can get it on back order, or probably now in hardback. So a thumbs up from me. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please do like, comment and subscribe. I'll be back soon with issue 4. Goodbye for now.